So if you remember how much fun we had doing long division, that was a lot of work. Synthetic division makes that so much easier. So let's talk first. If I gave you a factor of x plus 10, what is the zero for that? In other words, what value of x would make it equal 0? You'd probably say negative 10. What 0 corresponds to x minus 2? That'd be 2. What 0 corresponds to x plus 5? Negative 5. Ooh, here's a tricky one. What 0 corresponds to 2x minus 1? Well, let's solve it. I'm going to do a plus 1 on both sides. Then I'm going to divide by 2. And that is x equals 1/2. Now let's flip that. If x is 5, what was the factor that came from? Well, it came from x minus 5. That's how I made it. A 0 of x equals 5. How about negative 2? That came from x plus 2. In synthetic division, we're still going to do the division, but we're only going to deal with the coefficients of the numbers. That's the number in front, the coefficients of each term. We're not going to write down the x's or the powers. We're just going to write down the coefficients. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and find the 0 of what we're dividing by. So what is the 0 of x plus 2? So what makes x plus 2 equal 0? Negative 2. So that's the number we're going to put up here in our corner. Now remember in a long division we did that subtraction step where we changed all the signs? This kind of takes the place of that. So we don't have to change any more signs. Next to this, we're just going to write the coefficients in order. Now, if one of these powers was missing, we have to leave a 0 to hold its place. So it's 1x to the third, 1x squared, negative 16x, and negative 16. So we just list the coefficients. Leave yourself a gap, and then draw your line. So the steps to this are pretty simple. Step number 1, bring down. We're going to bring down the first term. Just the 1 goes straight down. Step number 2, we're going to multiply. So multiply 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Step number 3, we're going to add. 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1. And we're going to keep doing this until we get to the end. So multiply. Negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. Add those together. Negative 16 plus 2 is negative 14. Multiply. 28. Negative 16 plus 28 is 12. Now sometimes I put a line here because this last term is our remainder. These are the coefficients of my new polynomial. Now in math, they call it a depressed polynomial, not because it's sad, but because it has a lower power of what we started with. So we started with x to the third. Once we divided by x, now this is the x squared term. This is the x term. That's the constant term. And then our remainder is 12. Or just like before, you could write your remainder as plus 12 over what you were dividing by, which was x plus 2. I'll put or, so you know you could do remainder 12, or you could write the fraction. But that's all there is to synthetic division. It's a lot less writing. So we only dealt with the coefficients. The first most important thing is you do your 0 of whatever your factor was. That's what goes in the corner. And then it's just multiply and add, multiply and add. Okay, let's keep practicing. So this one, what is the 0 of x minus 1? It is 1. And now I'm going to write my coefficients in order and don't skip any powers. X to the fourth, x to the third, x to the second, x, and my constant. The first step is to bring down the first term, and then it's multiply, add them together. Multiply, add them together. Multiply, add them together. Multiply, add them together. Oh, looky there. There's no remainder. So x minus 1 is actually a factor of this polynomial. Interesting. So my solution, my quotient, I always start 1 power lower. So x to the 4th, this is going to start with x to the 3rd. X to the 3rd minus 2x squared plus 4x minus 8. That would be my answer. Let's try the next one. What is the 0 of x minus 3? That's 3. And now write just the coefficients. Oh, notice you're missing an x to the 1st. Watch what we do. X to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x to the 2nd, x to the 1st, 27. So if you're ever missing one of your powers, you put a 0 to hold its place. It's very important. All right, bring it down and multiply. Add and multiply. Let's see, negative 33 plus 24 is negative 9. Multiply. Add and multiply. Negative 81. All right. What is 27 minus 81? 54. Negative 54. So for my answer, I'm going to start 1 power below, so 1x to the 3rd plus 8x squared minus 9x minus 27 plus negative 54 over x minus 3. Or you could write your remainder as r negative 54 for your remainder. All righty. Ready for one more? What is the 0 that corresponds to x plus 6? It's a negative 6. Now notice I have x to the 3rd plus 216. I'm missing some powers of x, so we're going to put zeros in their places. 1x to the 3rd, 0x squared, 0x to the 1st, and then 216. Bring down the 1, multiply, add those together, multiply, add those together, multiply. You might not know what negative 6 times 36 is off the top of your head. Well, look, it's negative 216. Add those together, and you get 0. So my answer to this one is x squared, remember we started 1 power lower, minus 6x plus 36. Does this problem look familiar? It's a sum of cubes. So remember how we factored it to x plus 6 and then x squared minus 6x plus 36? Kind of interesting. But that's your synthetic division. So now you get to practice and refer back to your notes as you do.